Cubs had a heartbreaking loss last night, reminiscent of Brant Brown back in 98. We're going to talk about that, the significance of that loss, but I'm also going to tell you some good news too. The Cubs and a lot of their top prospects together on one team in Double-A Tennessee won the Southern League Championship last night. It was a momentous victory for the organization, and some good news in an otherwise pretty gloomy yesterday in Atlanta. Hey, this is the Cubs baseball channel. I want you guys to be on our roster. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, man. Be part of what we're doing here, and it's easy to do. It's free. Go Cubs. Let's get to the good news first. I mean, why not, right? Yesterday, the Smokies, with their first championship in 45 years. This is the Cubs Double-A affiliate. They've been the Double-A affiliate of the Cubs for a while now, since 2007. That was actually my first season as the broadcaster. So I've been there through a lot of the bad. And like a Cubs affiliate, a really long drought, like the Major League team had. Not quite as long, but 45 years to be exact. Tony La Russa was the manager to start the season in 1978, and then eventually he'd go to the big leagues. And that team with guys like Joe Gates and Harold Baines and, and some of the guys that helped the White Sox almost get to the World Series in 83. That's the last time that this franchise had won, and they had a lot of heartbreaks along the way, but finally got over the hump and won a rematch series against the Marlins affiliate, Pensacola Blue Wahoos, in a sweep. And what's exciting is, first off, the Cubs have a top-notch, bona fide ace coming their way in Cade Horton. And he was their first-round pick from a couple years ago. He's the top pitching prospect. Started 2 games in the playoffs and was dominant. Still, sanding the rough edges a little bit. But this is what a top-notch pitching prospect and eventually ace of the staff looks like. In 5 innings in both starts, they couldn't touch him. Kevin Alcantara, who was one of the players that they got in the Anthony Rizzo trade, a huge series. Exciting watching him. A center field prospect and a guy that's up and coming. And then B.J. Murray was the series MVP. He had a home run, a 3-run homer to put the Smokies ahead yesterday. He was in the Futures game. A great eye, played excellent defense. So it's exciting. And there's a lot more guys. I'm not going to sit here and talk about them all right now, but I'm just telling you, in the face of what we're about to get into, yesterday's game in Atlanta, it's some good news. Now, for the Cubs, the Major League Cubs, there's only 5 games left, and yesterday's game was disappointing. They had the big lead, and it just got slowly diluted, and then eventually we had our Brant Brown moment again. And I can still hear Ron Santo making the call of Brant Brown back in the day, and then, all the replays of it, and we loved him. He did everything, Santo, that they tell you not to do in broadcasting, but for him it worked. And I think it was because he was genuine, and he was one of us. Loved listening to him. I think he's one of the great listens of my life, of any broadcast, and we miss him dearly. I've told stories about him on here, and I know some people that I'm friends with spent a lot more time with him than I did, but he had an impact on my life, and he was awesome to listen to on the radio. And that Brant Brown play in 98 was a heartbreaker because the Cubs were in a playoff battle. But the good news is that team still made the playoffs. So there's still hope for the Cubs right now. As we kind of look at what's going to happen with this team moving forward. The tough thing is they've got 2 more games against the Braves, including tonight, and we're going to talk about that. But don't blame Seiya Suzuki for the team loss, because it is a team loss. I mean, he made the mistake that cost him the game, but he also did a lot of things to help them be in position to win the game. If Justin Steele doesn't give up 3 runs, if Javier Assad pitches the way he normally does, and shuts them down, then, maybe we're not in that spot. Drew Smiley, there's a lot of other reasons why. Maybe you could have scored some more runs. it's the game of baseball, and that's, I guess, what we hate about it, but what we love about it too is when things don't go your way, you get your heart ripped out. But with 5 games left, the Cubs have to just put this one in the rearview mirror and move forward. And we've said that a few times. Some of these losses lately have been killers, and if they don't make the playoffs, I mean, it's going to be a game like this that costs them. But it's not just Suzuki to blame. Today, here's the pitching matchup. Darius Vines for the Braves, not one of their star pitchers. 1-0 record and a 4.40 ERA. And Jameson Taillon, who we need him to have his best game. 8-10, a 5.05 ERA in Atlanta. Because if you make mistakes there, they get compounded fast. That Braves team is good. And they got so many weapons that they can beat you with. But you can already see the Cubs are going for it. They've got, all hands on deck. And now the Braves are starting to back off with Vines starting. They got to rest their pitching. They got to get ready for the postseason. And, they're two teams doing different things right now. Fangraphs, Cubs playoff odds back under 50%. That's not good. You got to get to 100% to make the playoffs, right? And with 5 games left, they have a 41.3% odds to make the playoffs. So let's take a look at the wild card standings right now. And there you have it. Those are the teams to keep an eye on. They're the teams that are going to get in. The Reds have put themselves back in position now, a game and a half back. But it's going to come down to Arizona, the Cubs, Miami, and the Reds are, I still feel, a long shot with 5 games left. Now, what the Cubs need is the White Sox to play a little bit better than they did in an embarrassing loss to Arizona. The Marlins were rained out. They're playing the Mets. You need these teams to keep fighting hard, because the Cubs lose the tiebreaker with Miami. So if Miami ends up sweeping their doubleheader, then guess what? Now you're tied, and that puts you below the line instead of above it. Even if you tie with Arizona, if it's a 3-way tie, you're still out. You lose the tiebreaker to both of those teams, right? So here's who they're playing. Arizona's playing the Sox. Cincinnati is at Cleveland, and then Miami at the Mets. And remember, they got rained out, so they're going to have to make that up. And, we'll see what happens. So that's where we are right now. I'm going to post a video of the last out of the championship game that I called. So maybe you guys might want to check that out here on the Cubs baseball channel. But tough loss yesterday. There's just nothing else I can say about it. It's hard to look at the bright side when you blow a game like that with, 6 games remaining and now only 5, just because you're going to have to win all your games or pretty close to it to get in, because somebody else might, and they're playing weaker teams, but we'll see what happens now that the Braves are, I think they've clinched home field advantage. Then I think you're talking about, not needing, all they're doing is just getting their pitching set up. So, all right, guys, like and subscribe. Thank you for being here and being part of the Cubs baseball channel. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.